what's good, everyone? It's me, Double, and today I'm doing part two of the series Rules of the Rig. Today I'm going to talk about booster placement and where you may have been using it, where you may not have been using it. You might want to try it, and some of the in between places. Like right there, I created a little loop, got a little lost in it. It was fun. And then I wanted to do a little leading over it, and I just sounded like I was part of the loop. So all I had to do was boost, just turn it up a little bit. That's kind of the basic premise behind a boost. It turns up. Does it always do that? No, you can set it to actually turn down if you want. That's Saldano right there. The loop in it is actually already hot. You don't want to boost in the loop. If you think of the preamp as a pedal, as a distortion pedal, if you put a boost after it in the loop, a lot of amps, that'll be okay. You're just going to be turning up the preamp. This responds totally differently. I can't use a boost to turn up. So what I actually had done in the past was created a ducker pedal to turn down. You can get similar effects with the boosts pedals. Let's turn the volume of our boost down and turn it on. You hear how quiet I am? Oh, but might be good for rhythms. Maybe it needs a little more girth. So that's how you could use it as a ducker. But if we're using it into a clean amp and we still have headroom, we can have our distortion pedal also be a little louder. And that might be just what you need, as well as like maybe a little reverb, a little delay. Did you also notice how the delays kind of dropped back? Everything after the preamp kind of drops back. It's a little less sensitive, but then when the boost is on and you get your distortion on and the delays on, you're hitting those delay levels a little bit hotter. We're basically hitting the input of this thing a little bit hotter, but we got to watch our input levels, of course. There is a sensitivity already to this unit, and it's digital. So using an external booster in front of or hitting a unit like this that's digital, that has a digital input with a booster, can start to give you some maybe not so desired results. It will start to clip that unit out. And when I say clip out, I don't mean in a good way. I mean in a digital kind of bad way. This thing is barely making it through this fat boost at this point. So let me take a moment to thank Licato. We discussed talking about this unit and decided that since I've covered so many things like that before, why don't we talk about some of the cool things that it can do in maybe a couple of these videos in this series. So if this is your kind of thing, make sure you guys subscribe. And thank you again, Licato, for sending this along. Not a sponsored video, but product provided in order for me to get the point across. So I very much appreciate it. You've probably seen different units like it. This is one that works with the and profile stuff, like this little guy right here above me. That guy works with and profiling. You've probably seen me cover some and stuff. I'll leave a link right here too. Some of my and videos. When I play, I'm hitting a nice green level. I'm hitting a good input signal into my unit, which means when I add an amp with distortion, a real distorted amp, or something that's already kind of grindy and grimy, it's representing it properly based on the input level my guitar is supposed to be sending it. You'll see that not only do I get volume out of the amplifier, but I also start to really make that input go red. And I have it up real high just to show you. And yes, this is adding drive, but I'm just doing it to also add some external volume. I'm going to increase all of this stuff because this all adds output signal on this booster. You can hear that's not how this pedal is supposed to sound into a clean platform. And I'm hitting this way too hard. So if you're using pedals and a multi-effects processor like the Legato, like what they have there, or almost anything, you have to really be very careful of the input sensitivity. Even something like an EQ in front of it. This is going to boost the level. It will selectively boost these signals. An EQ pedal can be a great boost. Maybe if you've created a nice loop bed and you need to get a little bit louder, like I was doing at the beginning of the video, and you just can't figure out how to. Booster, clean amp before, it's going to get louder, and it's also going to get a touch gainier, maybe a little hairier, depends on the preamp. Have a distortion pedal, and you have a really nice balance between your distortions and your clean amp, and you want to get a little bit louder for your dirty solos, and you just can't, you don't want to turn up your rhythm sound. A boost is great for that. If you mix yourself, it's great for that kind of thing. This isn't a video necessarily about the Legato multi-effects processor, but one of the great things that it features is a movable boost. You can put this after the amp section and make this amplifier louder. And if you put it in front of the amp section, generally it's going to make that amplifier dirtier unless it's already got headroom, unless it already has some space before it already gets dirty. Headroom, people think of as volume. You should really think of it as closing the gap between creating compression on the channel, a recording unit, an interface, a mixer, anything like that. There is going to be a certain amount of headroom at the input or the section that is grabbing the guitar signal in our case. And we're going to have a spot where it's kind of cleanish and it might get louder as we turn the headroom up, right? But if we're listening to a distorted amp, like my Soldano on the Dirty channel, there's a point where that headroom just stops. There's no more ability for you to take a boost pedal and make it louder by going into it. You're just adding more saturation, you're just adding more grind. Sometimes you might want that. That's why we use boost pedals in front of the amp. Something like this that actually allows you to trim the bass or boost the bass. You can really define the stages of having this on or off and how your amp reacts. This is really similar in that it will make the amplifier gainier when it's in front, or it will make the amplifier louder when it's after. All I really did here, I'm using a clean amplifier. So when I turned it on, it already got pretty loud. So then on the software here, what I'll do is I'll bring up the level, and you can see my peak, my inputs are coming in just a little, a little under 12 dB, around 8 dB when I hit it. And that's just the amp. Now, if I go over to the boost section, now we have it after, and I turn it up. You see, I'm getting louder. I'm full on getting louder. And I got to watch it or I'm going to start to peak. The more I turn that boost up, when it's after the amp like that, the more it will start to peak my preamp inputs, okay? So I'm going to try it in front. And since this amp is pretty clean, you're going to hear a similar result when I turn the boost on or off, because I'm really actually increasing the input sensitivity of the amplifier. Even though it's on, I really got to push in order to get those levels up. Whereas if I move it right to the back, loud, right? So where does that come in handy for us? Well, if you're a lead player, if you're a live player, or if you're a looper and you need that moment to get a lick in, to get a solo in, to kind of get into that vocal level of the band, where the singers are, the boost after your distortions into a clean amp is going to give you a good volume boost because it's going to increase the saturation of that amp and then it's also going to make your distortions louder. It's gonna throw all that gobbledygook of distortion in your guitar, the stuff we love, and it's gonna throw it into like a tube amp, let's say, and it's gonna increase that saturation. What we can do is make our preamp gainier by putting it in front of a unit, but we have to be very careful what unit we place it in front of. And we can make our sound louder if we're playing in a band and we want to take a solo and we want to be featured for a moment and then duck back down. You turn your booster on, have it after your preamp, have it assigned after your preamp in your effects unit. You're going to be able to kind of mix yourself. It's really beneficial for guys that are in bands that have to kind of provide their own sound, or maybe they have a sound guy that's not really familiar which guitar player is going to take the solo. You are then able to turn yourself up. But the best thing to do is let that sound guy know or set your own mixer accordingly. Hey, I turn my solos up. Leave me a little headroom at your channel input because I'm possibly going to get a little bit louder. I usually save those for single note things. You're not going to peak, a mixer doing single note stuff if you've got stuff under control. If you get stuff out of control, like I was just showing you there, yeah, you really are. So pedal placement of a booster is very important. You might be thinking you're going to be turning an amplifier up, but you're really just going to be increasing the saturation of the input if you have it in the front. So let's check out like some high gainy stuff, boost before or after. And this time we'll use just everything in the Locado because my fat boost is getting a little nasty. So if you saw episode 1 of Rules of the Rig where I talked about using a compressor pedal, I've been using it in front of drives all the time. In that video, I've actually changed my mind about it in a couple of different places. I a lot of times like to set drives a little bit lower and then use a compressor as a booster. Just because, especially if it has a nice blend. So a lot of times I'll use that for my solos, for my pre-boost, and then what a lot of times what I'll do is I'll use my booster pedal after my preamp, after the drives, all that stuff, and after the preamp, but before delays to get louder in the mix. And that also increases the delay saturation, does nice things. So, and it's self mixing. Like I said before, you can self mix a little bit. So if you only use a high gain amp and you've only tried boosting in front of it, and you're in a situation where you want to get louder, the band is saying, hey, when you take a solo, we don't have a sound guy grabbing these right at the very first second, or anybody doing anything, anybody mixing your stuff. If you're on your own and you want to get louder, and then get quieter, of course, when it's vocal time or when it's time to lock back into your rhythm sounds, then I suggest putting a boost after your preamp for that particular reason. So you can see by the meters, they're not getting taller. They're staying right at the same range, but I can feel the saturation beneath my fingers. Much like how a compressor in the front just kind of makes the strings feel thicker, makes it all kind of feel a little bit beefier, makes the sound kind of swell, bloom a little bit. So let's put it after the amp. Turn it off. And that's only with the gain at 50. And even before, when it was at 50, you could hear. Big difference. That's without changing anything on the pedal, on the settings itself. One of the great things about this boost is that it also has a gate built in. So it'll help clean up your signal a little bit. Very nice. Nice touch, Locado. And if we make this too loud, it's going to peak my inputs. And you don't want that. Your sound guy will be mad. So that's a great way to control your sound. As I've said from the beginning of this series, there are really no rules. It's just how you're going to use the tool. You can use a screwdriver as a hammer. You might not want to. It might be a little bit safer, a little more efficient to actually just go ahead and use a hammer. But you might only have a screwdriver. So there are instances where things will get by in a pinch. It feels a little more natural to me, at least, to put boost and then delay and reverb. Let me know what your thoughts are about that. Do you use boost after gains? Do you use it before gains? Do you use it and you're not happy with it? Have you tried any of these things? Do you use your boost after delay and reverb? Do you use it before? Have you tried it either way? Are you happy with either one in particular? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear really your thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you'd like to see in a future episode of Rules of the Rig, because really there are no rules and we're just trying stuff. And this video is all about trying stuff. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Hopefully you'll subscribe and hit like on your way out the door. Thanks, guys.